Hello everyone, I am Diana OBANE and I'm going to report strategic control and corporate governance. There are two central aspects in strategic control. Number one is informational control and number two is behavioral control. Informational control is the ability to respond to environmental change, and the behavioral control is the appropriate balance of firms, cultures, rewards, and boundaries. As you can remember from the last reporter, Andrea talked about the effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness being the doing the right things and efficiency doing things right. So informational control and behavioral control are just the effectiveness and efficiency. There are two types of strategic control. Number one is the traditional and number two is the contemporary approach. So first one is traditional approach. Traditional approach control is based on a feedback loop from performance measurement to strategy formulation. It is single loop. Single loop means it is static and unchangeable. It can be changed, but only minimal changes can be done throughout the approach. And it's also goals and objectives can be measured with a high level of certainty, and there is little need for complex measures of performance. However, these two, James Bryan Cree and Henry Mitzberg, don't believe that. They said that thoroughly designed plans seldom work. So if ever something happened, there must be a plan to do it. And they believe that traditional approach is not that flexible to be able to do that or to. So as you can see in slide, we have exhibit 3.11 traditional approach to strategic control. So an inflexible commitment to predetermined goals and milestones can prevent the very adaptability that is required of a good strategy. It is how traditional approach works. Formulate strategies, then implement, then strategic control. So as you can see, it's not that flexible because if ever something happened, management or the organization won't be able to do that because it's not at that flexible. Next is contemporary approach. Contemporary approach is both central aspects, which is the informational and behavioral of strategic control, are necessary but not sufficient conditions for success. Contemporary approach anticipates internal and external changes. That's why it is flexible, and it is also double looped learning. As in traditional approach, I said that it is single loop. It means that it's static and unchangeable, and however this contemporary approach is double loop, means that it is flexible. In contemporary approach, though this is a plan, changes are still expected. So if there are changes, of course you have to make another plans, execute that plan, and just being just flexible because it's contemporary approach. It's a flexible, it's double loop learning, and I think it's better than single loop traditional approach. So also the benefits of continuous monitoring are evident. Time lags are dramatically shortened, changes in competitive environment are detected earlier, and the organization's ability to respond with speed and flexibility is enhanced. So as I said, it is changeable, it's flexible, and anticipate internal and external changes happening around. So as you can see in this slide, we have contemporary control systems must have 4 characteristics to be effective. So those are the 4 characteristics. So next we have exhibit 3.12, contemporary approach to strategic control. We have formulate, implement, and strategic control. So as you can see, it's very different from single loop because traditional approach, because as you can see, those boxes are interrelational to each other. So one is related to one and another is related to another. So an executive decision is to use the control system. This control system sends a clear signal to the organization about what is important. The dialogue and debate that emerges from such an interactive process can often lead to new strategies and innovations. So again, summary, we have two types of control system, traditional and contemporary approach. Traditional strategies are formulated and top management sets goals. 2. Strategies are implemented and performance is measured against the predetermined goal set. Contemporary approach, we have adapting to and anticipating both internal and external environment change is an integral part of strategic control. Now let's talk about attaining behavioral control, balancing culture, rewards, and boundaries. Informational control addresses the assumptions and premises that provide the foundation for an organization's strategy. This involves two key issues. First, managers must scan and monitor the external environment, and also conditions can change in internal environment of the firm, requiring changes in the strategic direction of the firm. Next, here we have behavioral control, which is focused on implementation or doing things right. Effectively implementing strategy requires manipulating three control: culture, rewards, and boundaries. So there are two compelling reasons for an increased emphasis on culture and rewards in a system of behavioral controls. First, we have competitive environment, and second one is implicit long-term contract between the organizations and its key employees has been eroded. So those, as you can see in the slide. Now we have culture. So culture or organizational culture, it means the beliefs and norms within the organization. So what is important, how things work, and how we do things around here. So again, I won't elaborate this topic much because as you can remember from the last sem, we talked about this. So let's proceed to the next slide. Culture is unwritten standards of acceptable behavior in dress, ethical manners, and the way an organization conducts its business. Strong culture can lead to greater employees engagement and provide a common purpose and identity. Exhibit 3.13. Essential elements of behavioral control, we have culture, boundaries, rewards, and culture also acts as a means of reducing monetary costs. So now we have sustaining an effective culture. How could you make or even sustain a effective culture? Of course, culture doesn't happen overnight, right? We have to assemble it, cultivate, encourage, and fertilize. It's not just after you build your organization, you already have a culture. Of course, people or culture itself are built from different people. Your common ground, again, your beliefs and your norms. So it is not just a one night cultivation, but it takes years or maybe, decades to form a culture. Now we have rewards and incentives. So motivating with rewards and incentives. Reward system. Specifying who gets rewarded and why is an effective motivator and controlling mechanism. Of course, we can all relate to this, right? If we have motivators such as, let's say, money, or let's say, you're not gonna wash the dishes if you do this or that. So that's a good motivation for you to do your work, right? So, of course, we also have the potential downsides. First, if individual workers don't see how their actions relate to how they are compensated, incentives can be demotivating. On the other hand, if incentives are too closely tied to the individual work, they may lead to dysfunctional outcomes. But of course, it doesn't have to be just money. There are other ways to motivate your employees. And first, we have respond to managerial praise. So you have to praise. Let's say we are HR, right? So sometimes we handle people, so we have to praise them. And second, employees feel rewarded when they receive attention. So give attention to your employees. They need it more than anything, more than the money itself, or maybe not. Third, managers can reward employees by giving them opportunities to lead projects or task forces. Giving tasks to other people, it makes them feel like they're validated, they are important, because of course it entrusted them something. So maybe just give them tasks or projects that they can lead themselves. That's why they could build their self-esteem and they could help them to improve themselves. The third one, we have boundaries and constraints. Setting boundaries. Boundaries and constraints can serve many useful purposes for organization, including focusing on individual efforts on strategic priorities, providing short-term objectives and action plans to channel efforts, improving efficiency and effectiveness, and minimizing improper and unethical conduct. Focusing on strategic priorities, boundaries are essential for maintaining legitimacy with existing and potential benefactors. So you need to have boundaries. So it basically says to focus on your priority. What are your priorities? You have to focus on those. Of course, you have to save time and effort. So in order for you to save those things, you have to focus on your priority. What is your priority? Next, we have providing short-term objectives and action plans. That is, they represent boundaries that help to allocate resources in an optimal manner and to channel the efforts of employees at all levels throughout the organization. To be effective, of course, short-term objectives must have several attributes. They should first be specific and measurable. Second, include a specific time horizon for the attainment. So which means how long is it gonna take? 1 year, for 5 years, 10 years? What do you want to achieve in those? This second one. And the third is be achievable, yet challenging enough to motivate managers who must strive to accomplish them. And of course, short-term objectives must provide a proper direction and also provide enough flexibility for the firm. Next, we have improving operational efficiency and effectiveness. Rule-based controls are most appropriate in organizations with the following characteristics. As you can see in the slide, there are 4. And the next is minimizing improper and unethical conduct. Guidance can be useful in specifying proper relationships with a company's customer and suppliers. And you know what? Setting boundaries, minimize unethical conducts. It helps build strong relationship for the company and also for the employees. And next we have minimizing improper and unethical conduct. Because setting boundaries minimizes unethical conducts. Because the last thing we want is unethical things happening in the organization. So we really have to set boundaries. So next slide we have behavioral control in organizations, situational factors. Not all organizations place the same emphasis on each type of control. So there's nothing same about them, okay? Control is bureaucratic organizations is dependent on members following a highly formalized set of rules and regulations. And next, evolving from boundaries to rewards and culture. First, hire the right people. Second, training plays a key role. And third, managerial role models are vital. So we are human resources students. So we are future human resources managers. So we train people, we hire people, and we manage people. Fourth, reward systems must be clearly aligned with the organization goals and objectives. So your rewards must be aligned by your goals. You cannot give something if it's not aligned to what should be given in the first place. Then we have the Exhibit 3.15, Organizational Control, Alternative Approaches. So I don't have to read that, just read whatever in the slides. And that's all. Thank you for listening and for watching. I hope you learned something out of it. Thank you. Bye!